Good morning, afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the morning breakfast show with myself and my favorite co-host, Jose. How are you today?
Pretty good, Neil. Good morning and good morning to all the viewers. We're already getting some nice comments here. So thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. We're in Tuesday, right? Hopefully we're Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. A lot of interesting news happened after hours yesterday, Neil. So, I mean, we got a lot to take a closer look at. But if you have any questions, guys, feel free to let us know on the comments. We always try our best to hit the questions as quickly as possible.
Correct. Good morning, everyone. Everything's good here. Hopefully, everything's good on your end as well. Favorite chat here. So yeah, yesterday, I mean, it seems like...
First, I really like the shirt. I didn't see what the logo was till now.
Thank you. My two favorite people. This guy is useless, but this guy is a lunatic. So, yeah, we shall maybe talk about Intel a little bit, because it seems like Intel shall not be destroyed. Intel shall not be destroyed. Last week we've had, of course, the rumors and reports that came out that said that the administration might want to take a stake in Intel, the company, which makes sense. I do believe that Taiwan has also a stake in TSMC. Taiwan, the country, has of course helped TSMC to become the huge company that it is today. Now, with Intel, okay, I don't know how much they'll take, 10%, maybe more, maybe less. Yeah. But we did also get some other news yesterday that is very interesting.
Yeah. So, Neil, question between these two stories. One, we do have the confirmation. So this one, the SoftBank group, we do have confirmation. The other one is still, I guess, reports on it. What are your we can talk about that one later, but what are your thoughts on it actually being real? Do you think there's, if you were to put a percentage of it being real, do you think we're leaning more to, yes, this is true, or it's more like there's just some smoke, there's some fire behind that smoke?
I mean, I think there is definitely fire behind that smoke, especially after the meeting between President Trump and Li Putan. I think it just makes sense, because Intel is Intel. It's the US player. It's the US foundry player. Of course, Intel tech-wise, it's not enough to get money. You have to produce the goods, right? The the chips, the products actually coming out have to be good, right? You cannot force companies to spend money on Intel when the product is just not good enough. It just doesn't make sense. Now,
I feel
this
like you can't, but I feel like this current administration might want to do that if this is true.
yeah, I mean it can help them, right? It can help them if the likes of I don't know, Apple or Nvidia, or in this case ARM, works with Intel on future products, right? It might help them. Now, this news coming out that SoftBank Group and Intel Corporation signed a $2 billion investment agreement, which, by the way, is, from what I've understood, those are new shares. So
Mhm.
this is not SoftBank buying just $2 billion of Intel shares that already exist. I do think that these are new shares. Of course, it's
Yeah,
$2
yeah.
billion. It can help them,
Mhm.
but it's not about the $2 billion, because of course $2 billion is not going to save Intel, right? That's nothing in the grand scheme of things. What this could just mean that Intel and SoftBank and ARM might be working together on
Mhm.
future projects, probably also maybe Stargate, because I mean, SoftBank and ARM, they basically own the company, right? I think that's still fair to say today. SoftBank now investing in Intel, SoftBank committing a lot of money to invest in the United States as well. If you put all the puzzle pieces together, you might see where this is going in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with there, Neil. I mean, there were also, I don't know if you saw reports earlier this morning that prior to this SoftBank investment, and I agree. The news that I've read have make it seem like it's new shares, which is crucial, right? Because that means Intel's actually going to get the $2 billion, and I think that's why Intel also announced it on their press release. If they just bought it off the market, Intel doesn't get a dollar. It's just whoever buys it or sells it there. So I do believe 2 billion, and right now the stock is what 100 billion. So at least a 2% dilutive to investors, which I don't think is a bad thing. The other thing is, we know SoftBank in general is trying to become this massive AI company, right? They want to be one of the top players in the AI space. And to be able to do that, you need to make sure you have great manufacturing and supply chains. I think that's very crucial right now. Intel is definitely good at things like advanced packaging. They definitely, I mean, are moving in the great direction here with the manufacturing business. So it does make sense if for $2 billion to be able to say, look, if I need something, maybe because I'm a major investor, I will get a little bit of priority into some of this stuff. So and we've seen in the past that with I think it was with, I don't know if it was for 18A, Neil, or for 14A, ARM announced that they were kind of collaborating a little bit to make sure that ARM chips would be able to be manufactured. Not ARM chips, but chips in the ARM architecture would be working well with that Intel foundry. It was one of the first few times, I think it was 2 years ago, where we saw an ARM CEO and Intel CEO kind of talk about a partnership for the very first time. So we know SoftBank owns most of ARM, so there could be some stuff there, and I do believe it creates maybe a little bullish excitement for Intel's foundry business. And I do believe $2 billion obviously is a lot of money, but for SoftBank, I think this is just like a nice kind of, I wouldn't say YOLO play, but if Intel Foundry does really well, then they already are in their they're in a great pace. If it doesn't, well, I mean, hopefully it gets saved by the United States.
Yeah, and I mean, there was something else that came out, and I'll put all the puzzle pieces together. So first up, the Financial Times thing that came out. So let me pull this up. So SoftBank held talks with Intel on buying chip foundry units. So Financial Times reports that Masayoshi Son met Intel CEO in recent weeks to discuss a potential deal for Intel's struggling contract chip making business. The discussions came just before SoftBank announced its $2 billion equity investment in Intel and could still lead to a larger transaction in the future. That's the thing here. Those $2 billion, that's not the whole story. The whole story is what comes after that. Remains to be seen what comes after that. But with ARM's connections, through SoftBank and all the projects that they're involved, you could see Intel play a huge, huge part in all of those future Stargate projects, whether it's the big ones or the smaller ones across the United States or across the globe as well here. And it says here, buying Intel's foundry would align with Sun's push to build a full AI infrastructure spanning chips, data centers, and robotics. He already holds major stakes in OpenAI, Nvidia, and ARM, and has backed the $500 billion Stargate project. And I do still think that getting Intel at these prices today, I don't know how much he's getting, if he's going to get it, is still going to be a bargain because you're getting still a huge, huge company, right? The Intel Foundry is still generating $17 billion in revenue. If you can suddenly attach a couple of new contracts for the next couple of years, you're going to generate way more than $17 billion in revenue. And of course, you can turn it into a profit-making machine in the future if, of course, 18A delivers, 14A delivers as well. But if we go back to the latest earnings call, remember, they said 14A only if we have commitments, right? And I think, again, if you put all the puzzle pieces together, it might make sense. It might make sense. Last thing here is this. I don't know if some of you saw this or not, but last week, Intel released a video that said the following: Intel Foundry's non-x86 reference system on chips on Intel 18A. That video has been hidden right now. They basically showed here ARM, right? Them working with ARM, and suddenly that video has been hidden just after that $2 billion announcement from SoftBank. Coincidence? Maybe.
I think so. I think so here. I think that some people are just pulling here with non-x86. I mean, if you kind of go back to various, Intel and ARM have announced a nice amount of partnerships on things like this. You can kind of find some of their press release. I was working on it for the newsletter really quickly. So I think this one is just a straight coincidence, but we do see already kind of a nice partnership with non-x86 stuff being referenced for the foundry business, because at the end they're a foundry player, right? That's why they had the CEO of ARM in one of their foundry events to showcase that they're not just an x86 player, they're a foundry for all the markets. So I think with this news, I saw this kind of people trying to connect this here, even I think some analysts, and I'm like a little shaking my head on that. But Neil, I also like this. This is a question that I've had, and Roberto is oops, not this one. Roberto had it up here. So administration is considering taking 10% of Intel's chip of Intel for Chip Act ranks. That sounds like 10% for money they had given for free. All right, because in theory, Neil, right, grants you don't really pay back. So for Intel, you're saying, look, we're giving you the grants, but you need to give us some form of 10% ownership. It seems kind of weird. So that's why I think there might be a little bit more behind the story. Now, with some of the other companies, if you are a big player, I think if you make over 150 million on some of the selected units that are that you're building, you do have kind of like a revenue sharing with the administration. So TSMC, for some of the grants, they do have a bit of revenue sharing for the grants that they're collecting. I don't know how long that revenue sharing is, if it's until the end of project, or is it until X amount gets paid back. I wonder if maybe they're taking that revenue sharing away, and instead of revenue sharing, they prefer having the Intel ownership. So I found that pretty interesting. That's why I think we need to get more answers to this, because if not, I agree with Roberto that it's just 10% for money that is being given out for free. And I saw I interrupted you really quick there, Neil, with some of the other things that you were going to go with this crazy stuff happening here with SoftBank and Intel.
No, I mean, when you put all the pieces together, it makes absolute sense, right? Because Intel, you have such a huge asset that is, I know people laugh at it, but it's still an important, very important asset in the whole a semiconductor ecosystem. Yes, it's true that the stock has done absolutely nothing over the last couple of years. The business has been has not grown. It's not profitable, but yeah, they have been investing more than $100 billion in the United States. So I guess they do maybe deserve to get a little bit of help. Of course, they've gotten some help from the United States as well, right? The CHIPS Act and all of that. Although, as I've said from the start, I don't think that the CHIPS Act really helped that much, right? Because the whole package for everyone was what, 50, $60 billion? That's nothing, right? For the whole all of the semiconductor players. And like I said, Taiwan owns a minority stake in TSMC. So why wouldn't the United States own a minority stake in Intel? It just makes sense. I mean, TSMC gets a lot of help even from the United States government. I'd say even more than Intel. But then again, TSM is probably more important right now than an Intel. But still, you would like a US champion, let's call it. And I think from what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, all the pieces are going, let's say, in the right direction. The dominoes are falling one after the other. Whether it's going to be 10% or more, what's the commitments and all of that. Some people were speculating that the 15% that Nvidia and AMD have to pay the US government, they're going to use that money to just buy a stake in Intel and invest in Intel by buying chips. That was a very
They'll be
interesting.
pretty quickly. They'll make the money in like two quarters, I think, just from Nvidia.
Yeah, that's going to be that was a very interesting theory. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, especially if you can get a stake in Intel at these prices right now for Intel, because I do still think it's quite cheap for what it can offer in the future.
I mean, right? I think that's the great thing about Intel, right? I mean, it's if this thing is successful, right, Neil? We've gone from what $100 billion to what $110 billion market cap right now, seeing a nice 10-15% boost. 110 billion is still cheap. So obviously in the short term, it looks this stock has run up. But if you really do believe in the turnaround story, this is easily a multi-bagger if that turnaround story is true. Maybe it's not easy for the turnaround story, but if the turnaround story is true, the multi-bagger, in my opinion, is easily secured. Now if I was excited about Intel, I wouldn't be too worried about the recent run up it has had. Obviously, and I would also understand that volatility can continue. We can probably go back to, I don't know, what was it, 20? Well, I don't know what's the low of this year, maybe around $19 or $20. Yeah. So it's, I know some people look at it and say, "Oh man, I missed the boat on this one." But if you really do believe on the turnaround story, then I think this is easily market beater, multi-bagger.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, some people might not like it, right? Oh, the US government has a stake in Intel, and that's why it will force companies to buy from Intel. But why wouldn't you like it? Why wouldn't these companies actually like it to have actually a new alternative, not being forced to buy everything from one player and probably getting squeezed on pricing as well? I mean, for the other players, it would be great if they had, okay, there is also Samsung, but the more choices with, of course, leading edge solutions, because you don't want to buy crap, is going to be great for everyone, for the whole ecosystem, because suddenly you have one extra player that suddenly is very strong. For Intel, it's going to be great because, well, suddenly we're getting contracts left, right, and center. We can invest even more in our R&D, in our next technologies, and like you start this new flywheel that I think it will happen. I don't know when, but I think it will happen because it just makes so much sense. Just makes so much sense. And like you said, $105 billion or so. By the way, Intel is up 20% year to date. Crazy thing to say. It's beating the market this year. But yeah, a good Intel, functioning Intel foundry and non-foundry side that is gaining traction, but especially the foundry side of things is definitely a multi-bagger from here for sure.
Yeah. And there was another comment I forgot here. I think, let me see, pull up for Intel before maybe we jump into another one. No, you talked about it, how maybe the current administration would push people to buy Intel, and that's something when we first kind of saw some of the rumors, that was one of my first thoughts, that's where I would see this current administration do it, which is not necessarily bad, like you mentioned, but pretty interesting to see if that plays out. But if that does play out, Neil, I think just getting a customer to the door is the hardest part. Once you
Hmm.
see that you have an actual working thing, it becomes a little bit more stickier business for them to leave. So um, I it to me be bullish if we start to see some big companies announce some major announcements here with either 18 or 14A.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, with 18A, of course, we are probably going to already see whether or not all the rumors
Mhm.
of the yield and all of that are
Mhm.
true. But yeah, it starts with 18A for sure for Intel, and I hope this one is a good one for them, because if not, then yeah, definitely
Yeah.
there are issues.
And Ariel, I mean, it has to be if that's it's. I mean, most. I think this is always such a weird thing, and nothing to for Ariel, right? It's just I feel like a lot of people always want a definite answer, but here, especially in stock investing, there is no definite answer. You have to understand the various theses that play out, and you have to pick one, and then even worse in the AI space right now, or the semiconductor space, because it's one that's continuously innovating, continuously moving forward. So you need to keep adding those ifs, and it just looks like a nice if or and tree. If you are into logistics, that's just how it goes, especially in this industry. I don't think if anybody's saying anything definite in the semiconductor or AI investor, I would say just 100% unfollow them.
Correct. I mean, yeah, like you said, it is of course a big if. Um, could be dead in 10 years. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it, because it will be picked up by someone, right? It will be picked up there by someone. There are better opportunities than Intel, maybe, but again, if it works out, then maybe not. Then maybe not. Um, but yeah, with
Yeah,
Intel, it's not. It's one of the biggest turnaround stories, I think, in the
yeah,
market, for sure.
yeah. Hey, this was, I mean, I think as a semiconductor investor, I would always want, I'm not an investor of Intel. Always been long about calls opposed to shares, just because I do believe it's going to be a massive wait time. Um, but I'm happy TSM is not as money hungry as some American companies, because if TSM was, uh, I think they would be increasing prices like no tomorrow. And I think the only reason is while Intel and Samsung are not there, some of these big semiconductor companies can say, look, if you're increasing your prices by 50, 60%, I'm willing to go give an extra $2, $3 billion to these companies, because it's not going to destroy my bank, but it's going to make sure that you're not the only player here, and you're not going to be raising prices 50 to 60%. So I also believe there's also that a live case, because no one, I was watching, I don't know if you saw the podcast yesterday, um, Dylan Patel from Semi Analysis kind of mentioned it. If TSMC was a American-based company opposed to a Taiwanese company, margins would have increased dramatically in these past few years. But because I guess the Taiwanese work culture, work culture and stuff like that, they're not going to increase prices for their customers at rapid levels, like we see Nvidia doing with like the H100 and all these other products. So if Jensen was running TSMC would most likely be the most profitable company ever. But big players are not going to want that, right? They're going to want to make sure that if any of these are going to be dying, I think they're going to give them a lifeline. I just feel like maybe some of these don't think they need a lifeline just yet. Um, but if things get bad, I think Intel will be saved by those other players as well.
Agreed. Question here on the options situation. I like I said, I switched shares to options. Of course, I did that a week or so ago, and it played out quite well with the timing. I still think that options might, even today, although they're a bit more expensive, also depending on which option, what strike price you're taking and you're choosing. I would still think it makes more sense because, like I said, it is a turnaround story that will take time. But yeah, with options, of course, there is a bigger reward, but there is definitely a risk as well of you losing everything if it does not work out on time with that. But yeah, I have still my January 2027 $30 call options.
Yeah. The only thing I would say also, Neil, with the options right now is they do move a lot on volatility and excitement, and that kind of gives you your the pricing outside of your time for these options. And right now, there's a lot of excitement for Intel, so I think right now options are going to be a lot of expensive, are going to be a little bit more expensive. Because everybody's thinking, oh, what happens if we do hear this Trump thing? What happens if we do hear this current administration? What happens if we hear this a lot? And right now, there's a lot of what ifs, and those what ifs do increase the volatility of the stocks, which in theory increase um, the value of options as well right now. So definitely keep a note of that.
Correct. Let's see. I missed a super chat right here. Your top 5 AI semi stocks to invest for the long run. I mean, I guess we already have a couple because we own them. I would still go AMD, Micron. Well, I own Intel, so I have to choose Intel call options there as well. Nvidia, so AMD, Micron, Nvidia, Intel, and then the last one. At today's prices, you could maybe say an ASML or an Lam Research at today's prices could make sense. A Marvell could make sense as well. So the fifth one is really up to you what type of exposure you want to have, like extra exposure to the semiconductor space, or just buy SMH, the ATF, and and your decision is much easier. Jose, your 5 or 4?
A lot of people are putting here. Someone said no. Nebius, come on. I mean, I guess you could put that in the AI semiconductor, right, Neil? Would you, or you didn't think of putting it in that segment?
No, I mean, I know Dan Ives put it in the AI hardware segment. I think the co-founder replied to that and said he would like to see it in the hyperscaler segment.
For scalers, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. I feel in that whole segment, though, they all kind of intertwine with each other. I also noticed that in Dan Ives thingy, it's like, it's weird. It kind of maybe shows that he doesn't know maybe too much about Nebius, where you should be putting the hyperscaler. But if we're just, okay, let's just look at pure chips. My top 5: Nvidia, AMD for the AI chip market, Marvell for the ASIC market, something safe for just the overall industry. And this is just at the top of my head right now. So Nvidia, AMD, Marvell, my more volatile play. Then some safety net would be TSMC and ASML as well, or Lam Research. A big equipment players would be someone, the big equipment player and the manufacturer leader. I think that would be a great 5 where you have growth opportunities, where you have some strength, where you have some monopoly, and will pretty much follow the whole change of the AI space.
Yeah, I mean, you said it before, right? Owning TSM is basically owning the semiconductor space
industry. So if I couldn't do an ETF, it would be TSM. If I could do a ETF, kick out TSM and do SMH.
Okay. Yeah. What about Broadcom, Applied Material? I don't know what happened with Applied Material last week. I think they crashed after earnings, probably because of China exposure.
Yeah. So in my list, the reason I wouldn't put Broadcom is not that it's I'm bearish on Broadcom. I think Broadcom is going to do really well. I mean, in my last video, I kind of talked about how the market is expecting this to be a nice, massive user of CoWoS advanced packaging from TSMC, and mainly because of the big cut. Google is not going to stop investing in TPUs. That is massive. The reason I don't put on Broadcom is Broadcom is that second player right now in the AI space. I personally believe that there's a little bit more growth opportunity in AMD. So AMD is kind of like that other play for me in forms of the second player, and starting from a market share. And then if you're looking at the ASIC space as well, I prefer Marvell because it's a smaller company and wouldn't mind the growth story. So it's a little bit more riskier place than Broadcom, but I think like maybe at AMD, if you don't invest in AMD or Marvell, maybe you can kind of swap them both for like a Broadcom play. And then Broadcom already being a massive player, I think it's going to follow the same trend as Nvidia as well. So I think my upside from having Broadcom doesn't come too much, and it's pretty much just going to be like similar returner to some of the top dogs. So that's the main reason. Um, and then with Applied Materials, I've just never been a fan of Applied Materials, Neil. I don't know why. They've always rubbed me the wrong way from one of the top um, equipment players. The last earnings, they complained a lot about China markets. And they talked a lot about uncertainties and most likely that they might not get licenses from the current government. Um, in forms of the top three semiconductor equipment players would be Lam Research, Applied Materials, and ASML. Applied Materials is always number three on my list. Lam Research and ASML, depending on valuation, Lam Research is usually number one. ASML is usually number two because ASML usually just trades very expensive. But recently, ASML has been trading like it's going out of business.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. um, there was here. Where is it? Riskier companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in a 5 year, I definitely wouldn't like to put riskier companies. That's why I didn't name them. But I am a shareholder of Air Technologies, which has been killing it lately. I do believe Air is one of my favorite sub $1 billion equipment players that can benefit from a lot of different things, the AI market, the EV market, stuff like that. So I do own Air. Navitas, I don't own. Um, this is one that I think has opportunity because it is a small company, um, but it's not as massive. I mean, they talked about it, right, Neil? I think we looked at their earnings really quickly. They gave us like, I think, $3 billion of market opportunities for 2030. That does not seem that crazy. Now, I think the stock is less than $2 billion. So for those projections, it looks cheap. But I think Navita's interesting play. The power market is competitive. The biggest attraction for them is the small size that there are right now.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of those projections that they made are like for 2030 or whatnot, like so far out, and it's barely a big number. It was barely a big number for them. I do want to touch on a couple of things here from chat around the Intel government and all of that. So I agree with Adam here. They don't need to be the best. They just need to be profitable. If they have guaranteed contracts, that's what they need. And I agree. Like an Intel that is, again, going to be profitable, that will have higher margins, of course, that will get contracts either from government or from other players that basically got the message from the government. You have to start buying from Intel. It's true. It probably is unfair. That's good enough for Intel to be successful from here. And to say that the second place is the first loser, we can go back to the discussion of AMD and Nvidia. AMD can be very, very successful being the second place. Like a second place company that generates billions and billions of dollars in profits, I don't think that's a loser. That's just a winner that happens to be number two. And with Intel, again, I go back to the same thing. Taiwan has a stake in TSMC. So if Taiwan TSMC can get help from the government, why wouldn't an Intel do the same thing? It's just it makes sense if you really want to have your own champion and make sure that the semiconductor supply chain is way more diversified than what it has been for the last 20 years, I'd say. But yes, at the end of the day, Intel needs to have good products. I do think that 18A is a 2 nanometer type of product or equivalent type of product. I think Intel 4 is supposed to be an equivalent of 5 or 7 or something like that. All of these name changes are quite quite confusing sometimes. But yeah, Intel's nodes are going to compete with TSM's leading edge nodes going forward. Because if not, then what's the point?
And Anthony Walker here saying BE. Anthony, are you talking about BE Semiconductor, the equipment player from Europe? If so, that's definitely a good play. It's a European base that focuses on things like hybrid bonding, which is very crucial for the AI chip market right now. So I also do own Bessie, if that's the one you're talking about. There's probably some videos on my channel about that one. Any thoughts here, Neil? Why do you think AMD has been sliding or moving sideways for the last week? I think because for the last 3 months it's been just tearing. So
Doubling.
taking a bit of a chill pill here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I know we all would love to see stocks go up infinitely, but no. It's yeah, I mean, it's still up more than double since the lows in April. So I'm not complaining here at all. The 15% tax for Nvidia and AMD. AMD
They
can't
can
take that.
easily take it for a long
Yeah,
term.
for a very long
Indefinitely.
time actually. Yeah.
Indefinitely. Yeah. It's not a, remember, Griffin, it's not a 15% tax on everything. It's just a 15% tax
That
on the AI chips that they sell. And their AI chips that they sell, they're still probably at a like 40 plus, maybe 50% margin. So 15% margin loss there. You're still at a 30%. If you're telling me I can make 30% returns on the product, that's great. I mean, so I don't see, I don't think it's hurtful for them as an actual business. It obviously just kind of sucks to see your margins take a hit for absolutely no reason except what many people call the kind of mafia tax.
it's either
But then
$0 or you're
yeah,
allowed to generate now 85%.
but now you have the thoughts. What happens if it goes down from 15 to 7% in the future, right? Or what happens when the new administration comes and removes it completely? Now that's a potential tailwind in the future. Or you also have the headwind. What happens if mafia gets a little bit more greedy and they, you know what, we need to give you a little bit more protection, but for that more protection, you need to increase it to 20%. So, but I think they can easily swallow this indefinitely.
Yeah, I agree. Did you see that the B30s are in, I don't know if in
Sample mode, I
production?
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so. I guess the whole story of China not wanting B20s anymore. I guess Nvidia going for the B30s already means that there is enough demand for them in China to
Yeah.
be releasing such a product.
The thing is, I think we heard it today. For a new chip, there's a new license that needs to go. So who knows with this one? I think Nvidia, in theory, should have higher margins in this one. And I think Trump is going to say that. It's going to see that and say, you know what? Maybe for this one, we'll do that 20%. Because for each chip, it's an individual license. So I think it gets accepted. I mean, Trump said it when he was talking about the super duper advanced Blackwell. That if they cut it in half, he would be open to selling it. And I think Trump and Jensen already met. I think he mentioned it like 2 weeks ago when he talked about it, that in a few days they were going to meet for the Blackwell aspects.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. Maybe we can touch really quick on maybe a bearish indicator for the market. I don't know if you've seen this, but we're back in 2021, folks. We're back in 2021. Chamath is back with a new SPAC. A SPAC called American Exceptionalism Acquisition Corp that will raise $250 million by selling 25 million shares at $10 each. Some of the previous SPACs, Open Door down 65%, Clover down 74%, Virgin Galactic down 99%. SoFi is a successful one because SoFi was IPOE. But this is, I don't know if this is the sign of a of a top,
Top, pretty
or
top.
yeah, because again, I don't know which company he's going to try and bring public. It might be a very good one. That's the thing. It might be a very good
It's
company.
gonna be a semiconductor or AI play. It has to be, right?
Like his what company does he back
It's
with
gonna be
Grok?
Grok. Yeah, but
I
that's a
mean,
failure. He tries to chill this one so much, it's ridiculous.
well, if it's that, I probably won't be interesting. But it's I don't know.
I think it would be interesting in valuation. Like I think the market will eat it up
Oh,
easily
for
with this
sure,
Grok.
for sure. I again, I do think for like a very very short term trade,
Hmm.
you buy it on the day and like you ride it to the top or near the top and then you run away, and then you run away very very fast. Again, depending on what company he's trying to bring public here. It was very funny to see what's written in that release here. We believe that retail investors should only participate if this investment is a small part of an otherwise diversified portfolio. This investment is a quantum of capital they can afford to completely lose. And if they lose their entire capital, they will embody the adage from President Trump that there can be no crying in the casino. This is a real sentence here from from that report, from that filing. I found. I mean, this is
That is wild.
yeah. I don't know which company. It will not be a huge like it will not be a 30, 40, 50 billion dollar company. I don't think so. Um, the question is which one. Which one has he been talking about a lot? Which one is worthy
Is it
of?
a quantum play? This investment is a quantum of capital they can
Yeah, no.
afford.
I mean, I highly doubt it's a quantum play. I mean, you never know, but I highly doubt it. Um, I I would put 0% of this being Andrew. I think Andrew will go public on their own.
Yeah.
Hopefully a DPO, not an IPO, so we can
Hmm.
actually enter at normal prices. Although it's probably going to be a very very hyped up DPO or IPO, whatever. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. This does not feel great, right? This goes back to 2021. Um, and 2021 we know how that ended. Figure AI again. I think it's just too big of a company now with the recent raises. The other one, what is it? Apptronic. Why did I heard about this name before?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna guess based on the first one. I guess it's gonna be in a
Yeah,
robotics
also
company.
robotics. Yeah, also robotics. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Put your guesses in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this later. But it's going to be a very interesting one to follow. Again, I if it's an interesting company, I might just buy it straight out, trade it, and then run away for the hills. Um, because, for example, a SoFi was a very good one. Was a very good one. Yes, it's a SPAC, and maybe that's why it took a while for it to recover. But it's a good company. Now, even with IPOs, good companies, you usually have to wait like 6 months or so the market finds out what's the real value of that company. Um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see which way he will go with this back right here. I do wonder if people have already some like bets, like on Poly
There's
Market or
probably a
whatnot.
bet. Yeah, a bet. I was trying to see of some successful SPACs that we've had. Um, I'm pretty sure there's a few, like you
In the
mentioned.
meantime, let me check what the markets have been doing so far. In Europe, we are green across the board. In
Very
Asia,
good.
we are, I'd say, red
Yo,
slash
SoftBank
mixed.
shareholders are not happy. It seems.
Why not?
Go
Ah,
back to Asia. SoftBank share falls over 5% after it announces the $2 billion investment in Intel.
I mean, what is $2 billion after all of the announcement that SoftBank has made over the last
Yeah,
couple of
make
months,
those
right?
500. Yeah, right.
Like 2 billion, those $2 billion could be worth $10 billion in a couple of years' time if this works out. Pre-market in the US, we are currently basically, again, unchanged, I would say. Unchanged. Oil is down a little bit more. And euro dollar, we're still at 1.16 right here.
Be right back, Neil.
Vertif,
All right.
yeah, Vertif was a SPAC. I didn't know Vertif was a SPAC. Huh. Vertif SPAC, let's see. Oh, yeah. Vertif was a SPAC. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't know this. DJ and Couch coming. Again, it really depends on the company. It really depends on the company. Like if it's a very, very interesting one, then why not? Like why not just YOLO a little bit on it? But if it's again a nonsense company, then yeah, I don't think so. But you never know. Again, we'll see. What type of company it's going to be. Let's see if we've got some interesting news. Palo Alto did report yesterday. That was a pretty good report. I will cover that later today. I will first probably make a quick video about the Intel stories. We do have some news about SoFi that came out. They add blockchain-based international money transfer. We've been hearing a lot of talks, of course, about stable coins and international money transfer as well for SoFi. So they announced they will launch blockchain-backed international money transfer through its app using Lightspark's universal money address protocol, okay, and the Bitcoin Lightning Network. The feature will first roll out in Mexico later this year, with more countries to follow. SoFi says transfer will run 24/7 directly in-app, with fees below the US average for international transfers. Exchange rates and fees will be shown up front. The CEO Anthony Noto said the service aims to give members a faster, lower-cost way to send money abroad. SoFi currently has more than 11.7 million members. Very good news. I guess this is one of the ways where you could say that SoFi is up 2%, by the way, right now, pre-market. This is, I guess, one of the ways for SoFi to grow internationally, I would say, or maybe start to have some presence internationally thanks to this. I still don't think that SoFi will focus a lot of their attention on growing internationally when the US market still is a very, very big market for them, and we're still early. On that front. Apparently, there is a scam of Labubus. Since I talked about that, here it is, something called Lafufus. So, easy trick. I think the real one has 9 teeth and the fake ones have 10 or something like that. The Couch Investor knows a bit of everything, as you can see. Bernstein reiterates market perform rating on Google, price target $185. So I guess they're not that bullish on Google because the stock is already above 200. Again, with Google, the DOJ case, I don't know when that will be released. It has to be released this week or next week. So we'll see. And that would definitely move the market. We have here some Nvidia stock portfolio. So 91% CoreWeave in the portfolio, of course. 0.3 in WeWrite, 1.5 Nebius, 0.9 Recursion, 8% Applied Digital, and then 4.11%, sorry, in ARM portfolio value of around $4.33 billion. Of course, depending on the day, might be worth a lot more or a lot less based on these results. I underestimate SoFi? Not at all. I think I'm the last one to underestimate SoFi. I just think that why wouldn't they be able to focus on American and international markets simultaneously? Because again, if you look at what SoFi is in the United States and what it can be, why would you waste time trying to grow internationally, especially because internationally you're a nobody, right? Brand recognition is everything, and brand recognition in the United States for SoFi is still very, very small, all things considered. Still very, very small. If you want to be that top 10 financial institution in the United States, why not fully focus on that, right? Why not fully focus on that? It's the same with new holdings, right? I think 2 quarters or so ago, they're already starting to hint at maybe expansion outside of their core markets, but they said, look, it's just going to be a tiny, tiny part. Right now, we still see a huge opportunity in our core markets, and that's where we're going to focus all of our energies. It's very nice and fancy schmancy to say, oh, we're going to try and grow internationally. But if you can become much, much bigger and much more profitable in your core market, why not do that? And then, yeah, with these blockchain international transfers, that's one way, let's say, to start to grow a little bit outside of your core market. But yeah, right now, I think all of us could say the US is a big enough market for them to focus a lot of their energy on that front. Plus, don't forget that there is also the Galileo part of it. So still plenty of growth ahead in the United States. Enough for for it to become an even bigger company with only the United States as a core market. Brand recognition. I mean, again, brand recognition every year becomes bigger and bigger as more events happen in SoFi Stadium, more football games. Yes, in the World Cup, you're going to have a couple of games there as well. Hopefully, I will be there as well. Um, Again, it can help, but for people, lots of tourists will come. Most of them couldn't care less, right? That it's called SoFi Stadium. For Americans, yes, it's definitely going to help with the brand recognition. Let's see. I don't think that this news is them growing in Mexico. It's them serving Mexicans in the United States. Yeah, no, for sure. But again, when you're sending money to Mexico, it's money that's been sent through SoFi. So again, you have the name SoFi popping up probably, and they can grow, right? It's just an extra business that didn't exist before. Yeah, Mexicans in the United States sending money back to Mexico, etc. Usually they were using other services. Now they're using, or they will be using, a company like SoFi, for example. Going back to the Intel comment, I think you said it. US investment in Intel would be a conversion of grants and possible increase to help Intel stabilize. The last thing we're going to do is take a stake and try to run the business. So I like this clarification much better. Nvidia will require a license for any new chip, so the B30 would probably require a new license as well. We have 6 minutes before the market opens. I really like this account on X. Very, very good for news wise. Talking about SoFi, here we have some news popping up for Robinhood. They launch pro and college football prediction market. So a bit more gambling on Robinhood here with the prediction markets, which have been a huge success over the last quarter or two, I would say. So yeah, that's going to help. That's going to help them as well. Let's see if we have something. You have something else. Let me pull up this really quick. Yeah, this is interesting, right? European defense stocks slide as Trump-Zelensky meeting raises hope of peace in Ukraine. First of all, this is very good. Okay, regardless of if you own these stocks or not, this is very good. Then this provides opportunities because there is no way that these companies will not continue to grow a lot, and there's no way that Europe suddenly says and stops spending on defense. I think they've all committed to increase the percent that they're going to spend on defense. So if there are major dips in Rheinmetall, maybe Rolls-Royce, maybe Saab or any of the other players in Europe especially, I think this is an opportunity for those that are interested, of course. Thanks, Adam. We are here, of course, when the market opens as well. So we're going to have a look at everything when the market opens. Nvidia and AMD CEO are relatives, yes, but distant relatives. You look like an European. I don't know what looking like a European means, but I am a European. I am not French. Well, thank God, I'm not French. I am from the Kingdom of Belgium. Probably a lot of you didn't even know that Belgium was a kingdom, but it is. Pretty useless one, but still, still a kingdom. Still a kingdom. Let's see if we can find some interesting. Yeah, Rolls-Royce do a lot. Engines, plane engines, of course, defense contractors. They do drones? Huh. I didn't know Rolls-Royce drones. Let's see. They're first cousins? No. According to Lisa Su, they're not first cousins. Unless you know better, then maybe they are. But according to them, according to Lisa, they're not first cousins. Rolls-Royce is involved in developing technologies for both unmanned aerial vehicles and unmanned. Huh. Interesting. I guess I will have to add this to my list. Vlaams of Frans, allebei. Allee, ik spreek Frans en spreek Nederlands as well. For those wondering, I just spoke Flemish or Dutch. Same, but different, but still same. Why is it this? Okay, finally it pops up. All right. Before the market opens, let's have a quick look of what has happened. What has happened yesterday. Oscar, after we went offline, was actually up 6.4%. So some nice momentum here with Oscar yesterday. We had Applied Digital that continues to go up. My YOLO bet still stands with this one that we bought here at $9 and something. So quite happy with that. Small amount there. Duolingo. Look at this nice rebound. Very, very nice. Of course, my entry was 369. Then I bought my second chunk at 308. So now I'm already in the green with that. That was up close to 13% yesterday as the market noticed that it actually is a very good company. So now we're back at, just above the 200-day moving average for Duolingo. The trade desk is reviving a little bit. The prices here are 10 times better than at $90. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Great companies are amazing, but you have to pay a correct price for that. And with that, the market is open. So you can already see all the stock prices update on the right, sorry. But let's have a look at the heat map real quick and what we are seeing. Wait a second, why is this not opening up? Trading View, you guys need to update your servers. So far, not much movement, not a lot of movement here with the big tech companies. AMD is down 2.5% today. Nebius down 2.3%. AST 1.7 so far. Duolingo 1.4. A lot of stocks here are down a tiny bit to 1%. Intel is up 7% right now. That might fade, of course. Might fade. It's already fading a little bit. SoFi is up 2%. Novo Nordisk continues to go up a little bit. Robinhood up 1%. Uber up 1%. United Health basically flat. Oscar flat-ish. We'll give it a couple of minutes for those prices to maybe stabilize a little bit more here. Let's see. Grab. what is Grab doing? Let's see what Grab is doing these days. Still $5. Still $5. Who asked me about Grab? Um, I like the company. I always said it. I like the company. I've covered this a year ago at $3 and something. I like the company. I have a stake through Uber. That's why I don't hold Grab, because if Grab is successful, Uber is going to benefit from that as well. So I didn't see the point of owning Grab straight out. But I like the company. I think they're doing exactly what they should be doing. But it's not a stock where I know it got a lot of attention and hype, but it's not a stock that you should see it 3x, 5x like in a year or so. It's already a $20 billion company. Can it become a $100 billion company in the future? Yes, it can, but it will take time. It will take time for sure. So we've got a little bit more red right now. Not much, a little bit. I'm not invested in Novo, although I did say, I think 2 weeks ago when it was 45, 50, I said it as well before. It was undervalued before, but then of course when you change guidance to the downside, it's not as undervalued, right? Because suddenly the growth rates are completely different, and so you have to think about the company a bit different. Now, $45, $50. Now it's at 54. Yes, it is still, in my opinion, cheap. Still cheap because this is a company that is still growing, still very profitable. Now with the new CEO, I do think that the turnaround story will take some time, but I do think that the worst is behind them. I did see that Viking Therapeutics was down a lot. It's down. Yeah, well, it was back at $42 here, and now we're back here at 25. It's down 40%. I assume it's either earnings or a bad result of a phase 2 or phase 3 thing. Let's see what we got. There's nobody talking here about Viking. I still think it's going to be acquired, by the way. I still think this is a company that will be acquired. I don't know by who, but someone's going to buy this company. Okay, so Viking reports phase 2 data for oral obesity drug. VK2735 drove up to 12.2% weight loss in 13 weeks, with 97% of patients hitting above 5% loss, though side effects led to higher discontinuation. I don't know what the expectations were, but apparently it did not meet the expectations. So it's down significantly. It's also one of those names where I've seen some posts on X where people say, oh, this is a $100 stock or I don't know what. I'm like, can maybe calm down a little bit. But yeah, let's have a look at the rest here. I think Jose is very busy with his kids, so we're going to end it pretty soon. Randall says here, Gemini says it was the discontinuation rate of obesity drug. I guess, yeah, maybe like the retention rate, you mean, of people using it and not ditching it. I guess that makes sense. Palantir down 4%. I guess it might close this gap right here from the past earnings report. AMD down 3%, $170, right at the 20-day moving average. Duolingo down a little bit today. Reddit as well. Nebius is down. So I guess all of the high flyers are taking a breather today. If you see the list here, those are all stocks that have been doing very, very well over the past couple of weeks. Rocket Lab is making here a nice little base at around $43 or so. Might start to average up and accumulate a little bit more pretty soon there. Who's green? Intel is green at 8% right now. Not bad, not bad at all. Oscar is up 3.66%. Very nice, very nice. And PayPal still. With PayPal, okay, with PayPal, I said yesterday I looked at the options play, and I think I will pick March. Let me actually maybe try and show you.
Go ahead, Neil. Show us.
Whoa, you scared me. Jesus. This guy popped out of nowhere. Intel is up 8%. All the rest is down today. And Oscar is up 3.6. PayPal, I think I will do March 26, $100 strike price, and then January 27, $120 strike price. Let's see if I can.
You're talking about what you're thinking of doing with your PayPal?
Yeah. So
anything
this
interesting?
This is March, the March one. It's not that expensive at all, in my opinion. Volume-wise, it's not great right now. So I'm thinking about doing this basically like half March 2026 $100, and then the other half further out January 27, but a higher strike price at 100 and at 120, which are a bit more expensive, but to make sense, it's January 2027. And so reducing my pure share exposure, still leaving some shares, of course, but freeing up some cash and still having I'd say quite a lot of upside if it works out. If it doesn't, then yeah, of course I lose my money there with that. But the reasoning behind it, by the way, this is Open Door up another 4% today, close to was actually at $4. But the reasoning behind choosing those things is one, I give them 2 quarters for the March option play. I give them 2 extra quarters for the stock to basically move on the way up. It also gives the Fed time, I guess, to cut 2 times until March, which might help again with the momentum of the stock. Because essentially what I need is for the stock to be back to January prices before March, well before March. Like if I can see PayPal at prices of January in December or in January of 2026, so 2 months before my calls expire, I think I'm good. I'll be very good, of course, for the January 2027, but I'll also be quite good for the March one in 2026. So it's not that crazy, I think. Of course, I would need momentum on my side.
Definitely seems like right now, though, Neil, we're getting a bit of a reddish on some AI plays. I see Nebius, CoreWeave are both down about 3% on the day. We see any thoughts on what's happening there, or is it just the excitement fading a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Nebius. Even yesterday we were at $69 for Nebius, so it's not like we haven't seen those prices in the last 24 hours. CoreWeave, this makes more sense for it to go down even more again. Lockup period expired, so maybe we might be seeing some more selling over the next couple of days. AMD down 3%. Again, not that crazy. Not that crazy here. Last thing, maybe Eli Lilly. Yeah, very nice rebound. Not surprised. This was a very big overreaction. Nice rebound here by Eli Lilly.
Another one that's done a nice rebound is GitLab. Went down to like the 38s and now it's bidding back to 46 here.
Very nice rebound. Yeah. Thank God we touch on these stocks during the live streams. Huh? That's why you should join us. That's why you should join us every live stream. Intel up 8.7%.
Wild for there.
Question for you: if you had call options for Intel and they were up double in a week, like my $30, January 27, would you sell already, or wait?
I uh, I mean, maybe sell, like, what I would do is sell at least 50% of my initial thing. So like that would be, if they're up double, so that would be what, 25% typically of it. Because then it allows you in forms of, especially here with some of the black magic you have here on Intel, you kind of see, I can kind of see that red line you're having there. So I think the chances of maybe hitting a top might be soon. Um, but obviously it's never guaranteed. So taking 50% of the initial, I think it's probably the best play, which would be 25%. You still have the 75% still up there running.
Yeah, because the thing is, I have $30 for January 27. So like,
that's the other thing. It's pretty long. It's definitely, if
yeah.
it's that long, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I don't think it's, if it's that long, maybe like I said, 50% of your initial, which would be 25% of the total, isn't necessarily the worst thing either.
Yeah.
And then it gives you the opportunity to even double down if it pulls down right now.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Because honestly,
But you have a lot of, I mean, the thing here is you have Trump, him saying anything good about Intel could go either great way, or anything if he starts to hate Libutan again.
Yeah, exactly. We could see this thing go back down.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like we could see $30 next month, or we could see $20 next month.
That was next
like,
month. Yeah.
Like if we see $30 next month, of course I'm very good. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The other thing, I think Trump does seem to have a great from what I've seen on news, he does seem to have a good relationship with what's his name? Maya-san? No.
Masayoshi's son from SoftBank.
From SoftBank, yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I wonder if this is also something there where he's trying to get closer to the Trump administration. Look, I'll save one of your American companies and stuff like that. So the thing with right now is there could be a lot of things in the backplay happening right now that could be seen as great news once they all come out to light.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, with that, I guess we can close it out. Nothing crazy happening, I think, today. We have Home Depot that reported earlier this morning. Palo Alto Networks yesterday night, pretty good report. I think that's about it. This week is very, very quiet. Target and Walmart reporting as well. But yeah, other than that, nothing too crazy other than the news that come out for Intel and stuff like that. So we will continue to cover AI tech semiconductor stocks. We'll be back probably tomorrow as well for a morning live stream. So with that,
it feels like a quiet week, and I don't think it's going to be a quiet week at all, Neil.
Is the quiet before the storm? Is that what they say? I mean, especially for next week, because next week we have a week.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you all for joining. We shall see each other tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.